All right, welcome back to another edition of the Santa Fe New Mexican podcast. I'm your sports editor, Will Weber, as always joined by James Barron and his technical difficulties this week. We're starting the thing a little late this week because James couldn't figure out if your laptop overheated, the hamster wheel broke or something. What happened with you?
Oh yes, clearly it's the operator's fault, not the freaking software.
I thought what happened is you dumped food on your laptop or something. Something weird happened because you're always eating.
Yeah, the nacho cheese from when I was at the United game on Saturday. That's what did it.
Well, look, James, we are right at the finish line for the high school sports season. Last week in April, which is crazy because in a month from now we're going to be completely done. Then you and I are going to sit around staring at each other for 2 weeks or 2 months without anything to do. But it really kicks into high gear this week. The end of the high school baseball season and the high school softball season. Pairings come out this weekend. We're in
district middle school track.
Yeah, we're in district tournament week for tennis, so there's a lot going on. But it all starts really today. We're recording this on a Tuesday morning. And this afternoon in Santa Fe, there's two huge games. There's a good softball game and a good baseball game. And they're about a quarter mile apart. And you and I will be at both of them. It's West Las Vegas is at St. Mike's for baseball and softball. Baseball starts at 3 o'clock. Softball's at 4. And we'll talk about the baseball because that's who our guest is today. Sal Archuleta, the head baseball coach at West Las Vegas, joins us. Coach told me he's in his 15th year coaching at West Las Vegas, the last 4 as a head coach. And this is a huge one, Coach, because, look, you're bringing a team in here that's 16-3. You're 4-2 in the district. You're a game behind the Indian School, and you're playing St. Mike's, which is basically whoever wins this is going to finish second at least. But you have a huge week. You're playing the Horsemen today, and then you have a doubleheader against the Indian School, first place Indian School on Saturday. But welcome to the show, and what do you do to get through a busy week like this?
Well, it's of course like the old saying, we're grinding it out, and we anticipated this week being the week of the season, and a lot lays for us in this week, and we're looking forward to it, and we're very excited about where we stand, and we're ready to go play the hardest 3 games of our district season right now,
Coach, last week was kind of rough, especially losing the game against Indian School the way you guys did, but you guys bounced back from that, and, you get yourself 3 big wins there, and obviously this week with Robertson. How'd you feel like your kids kind of bounced back from Tuesday?
Well, the message was that, we obviously bouncing back was big for us, but, that's nothing more is expected with Indian School. That's the games we've always had with them. They've always been tight. They've always been a lot of one-run games, it seems like, over the years. And, nothing was expected less of that game, and it's always tough winning Santa Fe Indian. Coach Torres really prepares his team well. And, that's what the expectation is this week also, along with St. Mike's. We're excited for the opportunity, and we've been preparing all season. That we felt that it was always going to fall in this last week of the season, and sure enough, here we are.
Coach, a lot is one of the main discussion points with Class 3A and below is the playoff format, because there's only 12 teams get into the playoffs for AAA, and the discussion for the longest time at St. Mike's is, how do you avoid getting a top 4 seed? Because you don't want that bye, because then you sit out for about almost 2 weeks before you actually play a game. You can't scrimmage another team. You're basically working out on your own. Is there an advantage? And I know you've done this before as a 5 seed or lower. Is there an advantage for not being a top 4 seed because you actually get to play that first weekend?
Well, obviously it's about the reps. It's about the game, getting the game time in, and of course, still keeping the swings as fresh as you can and your defense. But, we've never experienced that opportunity of having that first round bye, So, I'm kind of looking forward to it this year. I think we've been grinding out a pretty tough season. We upped our schedule this year. So if we have that week off, I think it's gonna be to our benefit, get some kids rested, and got a few minor injuries that we want to work through, and give it that final run.
Is that kind of the double-edged sword about being in such a tough district? I mean, you look at over the last several years, I mean, all four schools have been really good, and they've made deep runs at different times and everything. So that whoever wins that district is going to get a top four seed and get that bye. And this year, it looks like probably the top two might. But I mean, what's the benefit of being in such a tough district? But on the flip side, how tough is it? Obviously, you haven't experienced it yet, but how tough is it for those teams to have to deal with kind of I guess, for lack of a better term, kind of the detriment of having almost 2 weeks or sometimes even more off between your last game and that first game in the playoffs.
Right. That double-edged sword. It's exactly that. Very, very, very tough to get through that last part of the district. And you figure one of the things that we're facing is the strength of this district really is what's preparing you for the end, correct? And but of course, we're shooting for that ultimate district title too, that we feel that we're within reach. So like my message to the boys yesterday was, no better time to play for something important here towards the end. We're playing for something very important, and of course it's along with our seeding. So whether we're off the first week or we're not, we're very excited to continue to be back at that second round at the state tournament. And our message has always been that we feel like we belong there. We worked hard to feel that we belong there each and every season, and we want to continue that within the program. So we're going to go into this with today's approach is we're going there, play a baseball game, we walk off the field, and then we regroup and see where we stand, win or lose. And we play it day by day, and that's always been my message: one day at a time, one play at a time, one inning at a time.
Yeah, 2 years ago you were the 8th seed. And that was a weird year because the top 4 seeds all got knocked out in the quarterfinals. They were gone immediately. And so it was that weird season where the seeds 5 through 8 all advanced. Last year, the 5 seed, and then you get to the state semifinals. So it seems like every year there's the argument of who do you throw that first game? Once you get into the quarterfinals, do you throw your ace? Do you burn them right away to try to get past that first round? Is how much of a chess match is the quarterfinals? Because it almost seems like, in a lot of ways, that's the most important round of the entire tournament because it's one and done at that point.
Right. I mean, that's what you got to determine each and every year. You got to really think it out, And for the last 2 years, to be honest with you, I have been on my ace the first game, and I always felt you got to live for the day, and tomorrow's when you figure out tomorrow. And when you get to tomorrow, that's when you figure it out. I learned that many years ago. My dad coached for many years, and I guess that's where it's instilled in the blood. But he used to tell me, you got to live for today, and that's kind of the approach. So we'll go into it with the same approach. I'm fortunate enough this year to have a good rotation, a good pitching rotation. So again, it all depends where the cards fall on who we select for that first game. But it'll be a strategic move, and I'll use my 2 pitching coaches to help me determine that.
Does that make the decision a little bit easier when you've got that kind of depth that you have? Because I think for some teams, they don't necessarily have that. You got to ride your ace and then figure things out after that. But for you, it seems like you kind of have a plan probably when you get to that quarterfinal round of how your pitching is going to stack up.
Right. Once you get through the quarterfinal round, I mean, it's right there. This is the process of elimination, right? So, your guy's is usually gone. He's usually burned. I think that goes for everyone, whoever's selected. And then from there, it's the chess match, And, maybe some that were a reliever are going to have to throw maybe half a game. Some that maybe started a game and then, that they be in relief, maybe have to stretch them out a little bit more. So, we still work all the pitchers that we can because you just never know. And last week I experienced that with a tough week, playing Santa Fe Indian, Tularosa, having to grind out 2 with Robertson. We did that with our pitching. So it's same expectations, same plan. And, I think the district knows all the pitchers well enough to know that, hey, when someone's on that day, you're going to have the advantage. And when the hitters are on that day, well, they have the advantage, So that's the beauty of the game of baseball,
Now you've got three pitchers. Look, it seems like one of the keys is you have to have decent starting pitching, but you have three guys that can take the mound and eat a lot of innings. You have Cesar Montoya, who's the strikeout leader on your staff. He's 5-1. He's got the most wins.
Correct.
Jerry Ortega, we all know Jerry because Jerry had such a good run last year. He's won 4 games. He's got the lowest ERA. And then Xavier Martinez, the sophomore, he's got more innings than anybody else. So who you said you've had aces in the past. Who of those three could you throw out there and you have one game to win? Who's the one guy you could do that with?
Well, we'll put it all on Cesar's shoulders, and he's the guy that would go to, But we still have the confidence in the other two, no matter what, That's what we're going to display today. That it may be a surprise for some today, as an example of who we throw, but that's going to be the interesting part for us and for fans to say, okay, this is who we selected to start our game, and so that's really the plan going forward.
Why did Indian School sweep of St. Mike's? How did that kind of change things? Because I don't think that necessarily was something that everybody expected. Maybe a split, and then it was going to probably come down to today's game and everything. But how did that change everything for you from your perspective?
Well, it was huge. That's exactly what we were expecting. We were actually, my assistant did a good job managing Saturday's games for us with kind of keeping an eye on what was going on with that doubleheader, and we were like, okay, this is what's going on. This is kind of the plan now, or you're kind of running with it as both series are going on, and we were expecting the sweep. I mean the split when the sweep happened. We immediately know that changed the whole outlook in its entirety, and now we know that today's huge, but we feel Saturday's even huger, and I feel that if it can go to either one of us, Santa Fe Indian or us, I think both programs are very deserving of it. I have the utmost respect for Jude Torres and the program he runs. We kind of have a similar style, and I'd be nothing great for it to go to one of the two programs that are most deserving. For us, it's been a long drought. We're talking about a 42, 43-year drought for us. And it'd be nothing more than delightful to get that, and of course the same for Santa Fe Indian, because they've never won one, and for us having such a long drought, you can kind of say it's almost like not having one either, So the full format was a lot different back in those years, and we all know that back in those days you had to win a district champion be a district champ to go to the state playoffs, and so it's kind of the same situation for both of us, really not having one, So in this newer time and age, so we're excited. We're grateful for the opportunity, and I couldn't be more thankful to be able to play with a program like Jude's and in a good team.
I know you've been to the championship game twice since 2019, losing to the team across town, which is just got to be a tough thing to deal with too. But
right,
look, this team looks and feels different. You started off 12-1. The 3 games you've lost are to 3 teams that could easily win the state tournament. Probably the other top 4 seeds are along with you. They lost to St. Mike's 1 game. You lost to East Mountain, which is probably going to be the number 1 seed, and then the Indian School. But it seems like this team is ready. And when I say that, I can say it with confidence when I look at your lineup. I think there's 8 or 9 guys who are batting 400 or better for your team. So you can just roll out a lineup knowing that you're probably going to get 10, 12, 15 hits a game if you have to.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's been the benefit of the hard work, is knowing that we feel that we're strong 1 through 9. We feel that our number 9 is just as good as our leadoff, and to me, he's just another leadoff that we have. So, when our bats get hot, it's a lot can happen for us. And that's really our goal, is to really get those opportunities. We've had some games this here recently where we've left a lot of runners stranded, and now we're looking to hopefully we flip that and start producing those runs like we know how when we can. So that's key for us. So we, offensively, I'm sure every coach's goal is to put that pressure on offensively. So that's what we want to continue to do.
You talked about being there for 14 years, but you've been able to watch this program go from kind of being middle of the pack to now one of the more respected programs in the state. What changed, especially over the last 6 or 7 years? I mean, you guys have had a really good run during that stretch, but what were you guys able to do during that time that you've been there that's really helped this program move forward?
Well, when I took over the program, I one of my goals was everyone focuses on change, right? And of course, there's some things that got to change, but is number one is the buy-in from the kids. They set the expectation, and the expectation was that they could compete and that they could belong, and we could no longer be the kind of the at the bottom of the district or at the bottom of the classification, and we're getting in at that number 12 spot, or back then at that 16 spot or whatever, and then we're 1, 2 and done, when we travel across the state or something. We knew we could improve that. And I've got a good group of kids that have just been we've been working with them since, gosh, they were in JV middle school program, and this is the group, and this is the group that we felt could turn things around, and they really embraced that, and they continue to come every day and work hard and really give us their all. And they're a good group of kids, and they're a lot of fun to be around. And it's easy to get a little emotional when you talk about your players, because they can really soften up your heart as good as these kids are. And that's what you take a lot of great pride in, is having a good group of kids. So they deserve a lot of the credit and for me the gratitude of being able to change this program, because they really wanted to change the culture, and when the culture was it can be done, and to know that you do belong there, and that was always my message, is you belong there, and and I always tell them, one of my favorite things to tell them is, go chase it, because it'll never chase you back, and that's what we continue to do.
About 20 years ago, Coach, there was always post ball during the summer. There's the stuff you could do to fill a time for yourself when it wasn't high school sports season. But about 20 years ago, the advent of club ball really started to kind of grow. 15 years ago, it started to kind of become a problem where club coaches were interfering with high school stuff. And now you've seen where club ball is almost it's an entity unto itself. And people can either love it or hate it. But what kind of an impact do you think club ball has had on the development of players, especially in a small town like Vegas, where both teams have done pretty well the last decade or so? Can you attribute some of that to club ball and the basically playing year round?
Well, my observation of club ball for our program in itself is, me personally, I was involved with it with my own boys, and my daughter. So, I was involved with it for many years. It's tough. It's tough traveling from Las Vegas to Albuquerque to go participate and be part of it, but just like any other season, you grind it out and do it for the love of the game. But, for our kids at West Las Vegas, there are some that are playing travel ball, and club ball, but it's not as significant as some may seem. Because all players don't do it, and so we really got to embrace the summer program. Luckily, we still have the basically what I call the little league programs that still have the juniors and senior divisions going, to where they still continue with their playing. But some do the club ball. So those ones that have, it's been beneficial and it's helped. But we're really trying to keep those boys going during the summertime, and either find them teams to play with, or embrace the summer program when we have it, because it's been helpful to the program.
How much of the rules at the NMA has kind of changed now, allowing you guys to, really taking the shackles off when it comes to off-season training? How has that helped you guys, and has it been as much of a benefit as maybe the organization and schools wanted it to be?
Well, for us, it's the off season we try to make it successful. But off season is off season. We share so many athletes with other sports that it's always hard to keep your kids together. But it's all for the benefit of the green and gold. So you share your athletes, you get them to work when you can, and if they're not playing a sport, then you encourage them to get there for off season, and that's what we focus on. Well, we usually try to get. Of course, we have our summer program, and then with that, we go into the fall time, and we try to keep them a little active then too. But of course, it's always tough because athletes are shared, and usually your good athletes are playing at least 2 all the way up to 3 sports. So.
I'm going to intrude on James's territory here because usually he's the weatherman when we talk about this, but the weather on Saturday is supposed to be miserable.
Oh, you stole my question, man. You stole my question.
you're playing a 9 o'clock game on Saturday, and James told me yesterday that prom for West Las Vegas is Saturday night. So not only do you have to deal with, unless they build a retractable dome for your place, it's going to be awful on Saturday. And then you're faced with the crunch of getting these kids out of there, and they're probably distracted because of prom stuff. How do you manage that? It's not just about drawing up a lineup card on Saturday. You're a weatherman, you're a grounds crew guy, you're probably a psychologist because you have to deal with all these teenage drama stuff. There's a lot going on for you.
Plus on Saturday we're honoring our seniors, so there is a lot going on, and that's why we're starting that game at 9 o'clock so we could squeeze all that in. Especially, they've got their prom, and you got to let them enjoy their high school years along with baseball, which includes prom. So we'll have a busy day, and we're anticipating some rough weather, and there was some back and forth on that game, and one of them was either Friday or was it going to be Saturday. And so, we had a few changes in it, and finally we settled on Saturday. So, it's got to get done on Saturday, of course. I don't think it would be allowed to go into Sunday, of course, because that's the absolute last day when we could play it. So
it's been done before, so don't discount that just yet. But let me just kind of piggyback off that. I mean, you talk about senior day, and then obviously prom. Not that I want you to disparage either one and everything, but as a coach, how tough is that when you have to deal with one element, but when you got to deal with both? Boy, that just sounds like it's doubly tough for you as a coach, trying to organize things to keep guys focused.
Right, it is, because as a head coach, you're one of the worries you always have is focus, right? Focus, and sometimes kids could be warming up, they could be getting ready for a game, and you're constantly, hey, boys, let's focus up, and that's really the goal for that day is keeping them focused as much as you can. But it is their day in its entirety. You got prom, you got senior day, and you've got the big doubleheader to determine quite a bit that day. So it's going to be a lot of emotions. It's going to be a lot of excitement, but no better way to finish off your season and play for something so important as your last day of this regular season.
Gosh, you've been there long enough to have seen the good and the bad for the facilities as far as West Las Vegas goes. But right now, you have one of the better facilities in all 3A baseball, which is just anyone who hasn't been to Las Vegas to see the Dons where they play, just a beautiful setup. The turf field, everything's laid out for you. I mean, how much of a difference has it been for the program to go from where you were before to playing on that?
Well, it's huge. We had our old Cinder Road fields for many years, and gosh, I remember those fields were built when my brothers were seniors. And I mean when they were in high school, and before that they previously played on NMHU their home games. Because till they had that field, and but I just remember having to do a lot of field maintenance and a lot of dragging the field and so forth. And heck, I think I wore out my ATV dragging that field so much, but it's all part of it. And but yeah, having that field has been it's been great, and we're so thankful to our school district and our administrative team for getting us that field. That we sure are enjoying it, and it's a joy to be on.
How much easier having to deal with a turf field versus just a regular field?
Oh, I mean, you get spoiled with the turf, and when you go to a regular field, that's the thing. That's the difference between turf is sometimes you're a little too spoiled and you forget how to play on a natural field. So
Yeah.
ground balls can be challenging, and let's see if that happens today or not. But um, you know, that's the big difference on the two.
Yeah,
Like
that's St. Mike's right there. St. Mike's is like a landmine because the
Yeah.
football team practices in the outfield and the infield is always kind of a mess. But yeah, James and I have seen some really nasty hops in that field. So,
Oh yeah, we're you know we've had our last gosh, let me see, our last 3 games have been on natural field from
Mhm.
Tularosa to Robertson. So I told the boys use that as a benefit now that we finish off this week. Because today is huge just as well as Saturday. So
Yeah.
Do you give Augie a lot of grief about the way he handles this field sometimes, especially the infield?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Do you give Augie some grief about the way he handles the infield?
Yeah, you got to give Augie some grief along the way. It's just not a game if you don't give him some grief.
They got to water the grass every now and then, Augie.
Yep.
Geez, it's like you're playing
Right.
in dried hay. But
Yeah.
good. The best thing about today is this podcast is going to be coming out right around the time you're taking the field for that St. Mike's game at 3:00. So um, that said, how do you see this week folding out? Because like you're playing three of the best teams in the state, and you basically win two of them. Maybe you emerge as the district champion. Like how do you see this week playing out for your kids?
Just like that, you gotta, um, we're we always estimated that it would come down to this last week because we knew the district so well. And we always knew that someone was going to steal one from someone else. And, we felt Santa Fe Indian did that to us. And of course, we felt Santa Fe Indian did that to St. Mike's, so it's, you got to love it. It's kind of an addiction to be able to be involved with this district because I tell you, it sure has made this white pretty quick, and the rest of what's left of my hair. But that's how it's shaking out. Is no better way to play for something that has so much meaning, and that's the way you want to do it. Because I told the boys, these are everlasting memories, and the brotherhood that they've created within this team is. I said, these are great memories, no matter what.
Yeah.
I guess the last question I got for you is just where do you see yourselves? I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of how this weekend plays out, I mean, do you see yourselves as a top 4 seed, or do you feel like the team that finishes second in this district will get a bye for that first round?
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm looking at it. Is second place, get the continue with the bye. I still feel that it's still going to be us, East Mountain, and the rest 3 of us as the top 4. Either way, that's the way I'm looking at it, and that's my estimation. No matter what happens this week, even if you're to lose 3, or take 2 or take 1 or whatever it is, I still think all 3 are deserving to be the top 4.
Well, our guest today has been Sal Archuleta, the head baseball coach at West Las Vegas. Anyone interested, they can come out to St. Mike's baseball field this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, to watch a huge District 2 AAA game. And then Saturday, they're playing Santa Fe Indian School up in Las Vegas, 9:00, weather permitting. They're going to play that thing no matter what. Hot chocolate, coffee, do what you got to do to get up there. But that one's for the entire, really, that's probably a preview. It could be a preview for the state championship. So, Sal, thanks for joining us. We've always wanted to have you on here, and you came highly recommended by Richard Tripp. So,
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, I appreciate the opportunity and thank you for having us. It was a very exciting opportunity for me just to be able to talk about the program and talk about the team. It's like I mentioned, great group of kids. It's been an honor to be part of them and coach them, and I got a great staff. I couldn't have done this without my staff. Great group of guys that I've got on my coaching staff, and we're excited. And once again, thank you guys for the opportunity.
anytime, Coach. Thanks, and we'll see you in the playoffs here in a couple weeks. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
I'm David. I work for Chevron, and this is my New Mexico. Chevron's been here for 100 years. My family could go back even further. All of my brothers work in energy.
I grew up in Farmington, New Mexico. There is a lot to love about New Mexico. We are raising our kids here.
We're here for the long term. I'm paving the way for my daughters so that they feel the same pride in New Mexico.
Here we go.
All right, that was our guest, Sal Archuleta, the head baseball coach at West Las Vegas. You and I have seen a lot of him over the years, and
Yes,
we know that West Las Vegas is definitely a team to be reckoned with. They're one of those teams that kind of plays with a lot of emotion too, which is interesting. So it'll be fun to watch them play St. Mike's and then Indian School this weekend. So
watch them melt down or something. Is that what you're saying? You kind of want to see them crash and burn, just so that way you can catch that.
They're one of those teams that's not all business like. They let the emotions come out, which is kind of a cool thing. You don't see it. So many teams try to be pragmatic about stuff. They're not one of them, and that's what makes them fun to watch. James, the big question, and before you jumped on with all your stuff, is Matt Dalside, the producer, and I had a chance to, and I even asked this of Sal before we started the podcast, is have you seen the movie Project Hail Mary?
Nope, not at all.
See, you're going to short circuit the whole thing.
Good. That's what I do, man.
I read the book, and then I listened to the audio book, and then I went and watched the movie. And I'm telling you,
I'm a little obsessed with this, dude. I'm not sure that I like where this is going.
well, just like anyone who reads a book before the movie comes out, the book is infinitely better. And so there were parts of that movie that just drove me nuts. I've got my wife Sarah with me, so we're sitting there watching the movie. And the whole time I'm whispering to her, that's not in the book. That part wasn't in the book. This character's totally made up. This person was never in the book. That's not what they said. And so everyone is in love with Project Hail Mary, the movie. They're talking Ryan Gosling for Academy Award. I can't remember the guy who did the puppeteer for Rocky, him up for Academy. To me, it's like, just take the whole movie and throw it in the trash because you just
wow, dude. Wow.
Bastardized the book. I'm so disappointed. So, and
wow, you sound like all those Stephen King nerds. The book's so much better than the movies.
The first time it ever happened to me was actually a Stephen King book. I read Misery, and then
then you watch the movie, right?
Yeah, I watched the movie, and the movie was just disgustingly disappointing compared to the book. The book was so much better because in the book, the sheriff in the book gets run over by a lawnmower. Kathy Bates' character runs him over with a lawnmower, chops him up. That's not in the movie, which was so disappointing to me.
But he still died, dude.
Yeah.
Does the method matter?
I really wanted to see him get shot. And in the book,
that's what you wanted to see. You just wanted gore, man. That's what you wanted.
And see in the book, Misery, she doesn't break his ankles with a sledgehammer. She actually chops one of his feet off. And so she really teaches him a good lesson. So, a lot of that stuff is kind of candy corn material. It just really bugged me. But so I've had that happen a couple of times where you read the book and then you see the movie. It's just huge letdown. And Project Hail Mary to me was just awful. So
there's our movie review for the week. Will gives it a huge thumbs down.
Two thumbs down.
Don't waste your money on this movie.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, anyone who read the book Project Hail Mary and then saw the movie, first of all, the Rocky character was actually pretty good. It was pretty realistic. But they almost make him more intelligent in the book, and they dumb down Ryan Gosling's character a little bit more. Because in the book, Ryan Gosling is the brain. He understands the true science of it. And the little Rocky character is just one of the best engineers of all time. He can build anything. He can fix anything. But they kind of meshed those two in the movie, and I didn't like it at all. So anyway, I digress. Go watch the movie. We can write a term paper about it.
Go watch the movie I just said completely sucks.
Yeah. But read the book first so we can at least parallel. We can align.
That way we can trash it together, right?
Yeah, exactly. So just bummer. And that said, I'm probably going to read the book again over the summer because we'll have 2 months to do nothing.
Dude, I'm just fascinated that you still do audiobooks.
Yeah. Oh, I look, if you got a yard and you're doing yard work, you can listen to like Pandora or something, or you can just listen to an audiobook.
Yeah.
And it takes away the very realistic thought that you're getting sunburned in your own backyard doing, pulling weeds, because you're just listening to an audiobook. You get lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, that reminds me of another movie that
Oh no, here we go.
Yeah, The Martian. I read The Martian first and then saw the movie. And actually the movie The Martian was actually not bad, but some of the really key sequences in the book, they just completely took out of the movie. So, but look, if you did a movie based off a book, it'd be like a 36-hour movie. So you can't really do that.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like what they did with The Stand, back in the 90s, man.
Yeah.
That whole week long. Yeah, that whole week long series.
And I did listen to it, the entire version of it, on audiobook. It's on Audible right now.
Yeah.
And that thing it was like 55 hours of audio.
Yeah, it is a ginormous book.
Oh, and there was no way you could make a movie out of that book. Because
you'd have to treat it like a series, you really would, in like over 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and even then, you can't really get to everything in the book because there's just so many details.
There is. It is. So
anyway, that said, last weekend was interesting. You and I were both within the same proximity of each other in Albuquerque. You went to the
we're literally across the street.
Yeah, you went to the United game at Isotopes Park. I was at the Lobo football spring game, the Cherry Silver game at University Stadium, and for once it was beautiful, perfect weather for the football game. I think they were anticipating 10,000 fans. There couldn't have been more than 2,000 or 3,000 people that showed up, but nonetheless, I think what you saw from the football version is that team is going to be really, really good this year. They're big, strong, physical team. And right now they've got 101 guys on the roster. They can carry up to 105. But Jason Eck, who told me he'd come on our podcast here pretty soon. Jason Eck said that they can carry 105 with as many as like 111, but they've got 20 incoming freshmen, not to mention whoever else signs on from the transfer. Yeah. So really there's going to be maybe 24 players who are going to get cut from the team between now and the start of the season. So there's a lot of people. But the crux is they've got a really, really good team in place right now. I think if there's a weak point, maybe it's their defensive secondary, but that team is absolutely loaded. It's as good of a football team as UNM has probably seen since the peak Rocky Long years, and that's saying quite a bit. But
no, that is. Yeah, now that you've said this, you've jinxed them. Yeah. They're going to go 2-10 instead of 10-2, like you said.
Yeah. Jason Eck will quit in the middle of the season, say, I'm not a real one, and he'll go take
and he'll point you out. He'll blame you. Yeah. Oh, you'll eat that up, won't you?
Yeah. Hopefully he comes on our podcast before he leaves, though. So that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be. So that way we can remind him about the jinx.
But during the course of the Cherry Silver game, of course, one of the PA guys, because they're trying to make it like a fan-friendly fiesta event, they would show live interviews up on the Jumbotron as the game's going on. And one of the people doing the interviews was Carlos Tenorio. He's the PIO for the New Mexico United. And he interviewed Peter Trevisani, the owner of the New Mexico United. And of course, he's a cheerleader. He's from Santa Fe. He's all about bringing the best product he can to the metro area, which includes the team and a potential stadium. But since you're the beat writer for the United, what's it like to actually go to a game? What's it like the environment there?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a pretty fun environment. Obviously you've got the curse group there that, really kind of drives the bus when it comes to that. But, on Saturday, after the scrimmage, they played at about 7:00, and it was not a good night. I mean, the winds were whipping around there. It was getting a little cold, but they must have had about 96. I think they had 9,600 people there, and it was their pet day. So people were bringing their dogs and everything, and so the berm was just full of families and dogs just running around and everything. It made for a really fun environment. It's a little different than, say like going to the Isotopes game, even when they have like their fireworks nights or whatever their special promotions are, and you get 10,000 people there. 9 or 10,000 at the Isotopes games a little different than 9 or 10,000 at the soccer match, because a lot of them are really engaged, and
Yeah.
that's a little different with baseball. Baseball, you have those peaks and valleys, and then people obviously they're there more for the food and just kind of hang out than they are really for the game. But in soccer, it's a little different, man. People, the fans that go out there, they're really committed to the organization and to the sport. So they're not people that are just up and walking around, at the 20-minute mark, even though it might be a scoreless match. So, it makes for a really fun, really good atmosphere. I'd prefer being out there on the field. Although that Saturday night I did stay up in the press box because I had a couple other stories I was writing on during the game. But it's a really fun atmosphere and much different than what most other people might be accustomed to.
Yeah, well, the Isotopes are trying to rival that tonight. It's a Tuesday night. It's dollar hot dog
Dollar
night.
hot dog night. I know, man. It makes me want to just give up on softball and go to a baseball game.
Yeah, you and I should just go cover high school stuff and immediately drive to Albuquerque, go get dollar hot dogs at the Isotopes
Oh,
games.
darn, dang right, man. And we're gonna have to fight the other 5,000 people who are there.
Oh, at least 5,000. It's a school night. That's why they do it on a school night. Well, right towards the end of the semester, and the weather's supposed to be decent tonight.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but that's kind of why I like going to the Isotopes games during the week, because the crowds are much smaller and you don't have to fight, to get your food or to kind of deal with the large crowds when you're walking through the concourse.
yeah, that's the one Isotopes game I've been to this year was when Paul DePodesta, the Rockies president, baseball ops, came into town. And there was 3,000 people at an Isotopes game, which is weird because by the end of the season, they average probably 8,000 or 9,000 per game, which tells you the crowds really swell once school lets out. And so every Thursday, the Isotopes usually play a home game. When they're doing a homestand, they'll play a home game right in the middle of the week. And you'll get a lot of school kids, but they all clear out by like the third inning. And so the stadium is empty. And so if you're a baseball fan and you really want to get a foul ball, the time to go is one of those Thursday afternoon games.
Exactly. Yeah.
That way you're not fighting some little kid and getting caught in the Jumbotron, wrestling a ball away from a little kid.
Yeah, you don't want to be the bad guy in that situation, right?
You're fighting some 35-year-old guy who got out of his day job to come try to do the same thing. So it's like, then it's like you can knuckle down and get in there and try to get a foul ball. Have you ever done that though at a game? You ever raced anybody for a ball?
I did it once when I was younger, and I didn't get it. And after that, I was just like, I'm just not going to do this. It just seems kind of embarrassing when you kind of feel humiliated when you don't get the ball.
Yeah. Well, when Pancho Morris, the old Santa Fe, New Mexican writer, was still working at the New Mex, I was working for the Albuquerque Journal at the time, but it was my night off. I was just at the ball game with some friends,
just enjoying it. Yeah.
He was in the press box, and it was one of those nights where there's not a lot of people there, and a guy hit a ball over the bullpen into the left field, that little picnic area. And there was me and there was a high school kid. We were coming from opposite directions. Like, I'm getting that ball. And I chased it down, and we smacked. We were like two linemen bumping into each other right at the point of contact. Yeah, I got the ball. And Pancho was like, "Was that you out there?" He texted me. And I was like, "Was that you getting the foul ball?" I was like, "You're damn right that was. It was me. I don't care. If that kid was here on some sort of special needs program. That's my baseball, and I'm taking it."
You just knocked down the cancer pig and get your ball.
I felt no guilt whatsoever. In fact, I might have the baseball somewhere in my house, but yeah.
Did you send it to yourself?
Yeah. one of my prouder moments was knocking over a teenage kid to get a $7 baseball. So,
well, I mean, let's be honest. I think you did what most adults would love to do to teenagers.
Yeah. Snot-nosed kid, get out of here. Go get a job. What are you doing at a game anyway? I earned my way here. I didn't get mom and dad to buy me a ticket.
Dang right.
Well, look, so much stuff going on in the next couple of weeks. You and I we have to start working now. Looks like
darn.
For the month of May, it looks like we need to start getting busy and doing stuff. But high school baseball, softball, and track pairings come out this weekend, right? On Sunday?
Well, we have the small school district meets are Friday and Saturday, so that'll finish up, and then we've also got the district individual tournaments for tennis, also the same days, Friday and Saturday. Yeah. And tennis, it's so much easier because literally 90% of the teams that we cover are all in one district. and they're
Yeah.
all going to be in Taos on Friday and Saturday. So it's not like what you see, like say, like for district track, you've got like 3 or 4 different districts that you're dealing with there, and the schools are all kind of spread about in northern New Mexico. And that one, it's just they're all in Taos, and then Santa Fe High and Capital, they're holding their district tournaments at Santa Fe High and Capital this weekend. So there'll be plenty of tennis if you want to go and watch 5A tennis there at Santa Fe High and Capital.
Yeah, and then of course the first state championship event coming up for the spring will be the golf stuff, and everything is down south this year. I know our photographers are going to hate this, but the AAA tournament is at Elephant Butte.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Elephant Butte had a golf course, so
I didn't either until I did the prep schedule this week, and then I saw they had the state preview tournament is down there on Monday.
Yeah, so it looks like I'll be driving down to Elephant Butte a couple times to cover the Class 3A tournament. The good thing
you should go camping out by the lake.
Right? What lake? It's all dried up by now.
Hey, there won't be anybody there anyway, so you got the whole place to yourself.
Maybe I could double dip. I could do a golf story and then do an exploratory story to see if I can find any dead bodies down at the bottom of.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be perfect.
Do that. But
maybe
then
you'll bring some big case.
Exactly. So the golf, the track, softball, tennis, all that stuff is all coming together all at the same time, which makes for a chaotic, fun, just kind of a cool time for us. It's like one of 3 really busy periods of the year for us. And the month of May is all sandwiched together. Not to mention the fact that my youngest son is also graduating high school right around the same time. So there's a lot of fun with that too.
Yeah, not a lot of stress for you there, right?
No. Although I'm throwing a huge graduation party and he's not invited because I'm having to drag his carcass across the finish line. So yeah.
Are you still paying? Is this payback for what he did to the keys?
Yeah, exactly. Which touching on one of our former stories is the key syndrome, the key episode of.
Here we go. The nice finish.
Yeah. It's still not resolved. I took it into the dealership, which, by the way, I was trying to avoid by going to a locksmith, and I picked the world's worst locksmith ever, and he couldn't figure it out. He actually deprogrammed my entire car, so I had to take the car.
That's awesome.
To the dealership. So the dealer, I won't mention who it was. Kia.
There's only one of 2, so people have a good guess which one it is.
Yeah. They wanted to charge me $635 for another key, which is a lot. The only person I know who can afford to pay $635 for a key is Matt Dahlside.
I knew you were going there.
Yeah.
I knew you were going there.
Maybe Matt could ante up and give me some cash to pay for a new key. So yeah, the key saga is not over, and I probably have another couple weeks left of this thing. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
I know. Sorry about that. And don't do that, man. Matt's a real loan shark. That interest rate is like 25%. So he'll be breaking your knuckles by the end of it.
It'll be like an episode of Euphoria. It's going to turn into. He'll come and he'll get what he needs.
Oh, he'll chase you down, dude. He'll chase you down.
Yeah. So with that ends another podcast. I think we actually went longer. You and I talked than with Sal Archuleta.
Yeah, maybe so. I actually do have one thing that I did want to get out there, and it's kind of piggybacking off a story that the local news did. Up in Espanola, I think if you read the paper, you know that there was a wildfire that hit the city, and it took out about 4 or 5 homes, and one of them just happened to be the family of Ruben Lucero Sr., who's about 90 now, and he used to be kind of a staple at state track. He was one of the official starters for the longest time. His sons, Larry and Ruben Jr. Ruben Jr. was an athletic director at Espanola and a couple other places up north. Ruben Jr., Larry's daughter, Liz, and now her daughter are all officials there at the state track meet that you see them, especially for the small school ones. They were one of the families that were impacted by the fire. They lost one of their 2 mobile homes that they had there, and now they're doing a GoFundMe for to help raise the money to kind of do repairs and stuff like that. So I wanted to do my level best to get that out there. If you go to GoFundMe and do a support for the Lucero family, you should be able to find that there. And as of today, they've already raised $2,100, and they're looking to hit the goal of 3,000 to kind of help with repairs.
There you go. That's a nice touch, and that's another thing that affects so many people in northern New Mexico is the fire season, and it's going to be a bad one this year. It's been such a dry winter, and we've already had a couple of fires already. So, yeah, I think that we're just
this is just the start of a really long summer.
Yeah, for sure. As always, you can subscribe to our newsletter in the huddle. If you go to the New Mexicans newsletter, you can follow through the links in our homepage on SantaFeNewMexican.com. Go to newsletters inside the huddle with James and Will, and then subscribe to that. We update that usually once, maybe twice a week, and we'll continue doing that every week from now until the day we enter the transfer portal and go somewhere
There you
else. So with that brings to a close this episode. As always, any story ideas, especially Athlete of the Week, it's been kind of a regular thing. People have really started to pick up on it.
Yep.
Name people for Athlete of the Week. If you have a suggestion for Athlete of the Week, sports@sfnewmexican.com. They're more than welcome.
Yes.
Jump in, tell us who you think should be paid attention to. And with that, that'll bring it to a close. Thanks for tuning in.